Welcome to the Global Speaker Advantage, the #1 podcast where your voice goes beyond borders. Hosted by Oliver Shum, international speaker and coach, this show is for speakers ready to grow influence, land paid gigs, and make a global impact. Tune in every Tuesday and Friday weekly for insights, interviews, and strategies to help you thrive on the world stage. Let's go global.
Hey. This is the Global Speakers Advantage podcast where every episode is a masterclass. I am your host, Oliver Shaum, and we are on a mission to touch every voice in every corner of the world, to stretch it, to empower and equip it to be a global game changer. Let's make it count. Today, in the Global Speakers Advantage podcast, we have a huge blessing, an incredible personality, a CEO, an author of books that you will discover just for yourself. Join with me as I introduce our incredible and infatigable guest. And this is not any other person, but Rob Hiller. So just a little bit about Rob before we dive in. Rob is the Chief Executive Officer of Performance Solutions, Minnesota, United States of America. He is nationally known for his expertise in talent selection, executive coach, and coaching. Not only that, he is fully engaged in team development, sales, leadership building, and he is actually one of the chief technicians and the chief executive officer of a high-tech company in Minnesota, a business system where he develops a passion for acquiring talent and solving problems that executives face. Hiller, after selling the company, he started consulting with hundreds of high-tech and media device companies, including several Fortune 1000 companies. He was recently awarded the Bill J. Bonstetter Lifetime Achievement Award for his extensive work in consulting, coaching, and evaluating talent. He has assessed more than 24,000 people in the past 25 years. He is a business graduate of St. Olaf College. He and his beautiful wife have 3 adult children. Different. Welcome on board our guest, Rob Hiller. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Well, it's great to be here, Oliver. And per our conversation, we have much to talk about to be help your audience and the people that are listeners of your podcast.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's such an honor and a privilege for us to host you at the Global Speakers Advantage podcast. So once again, welcome. I've read a couple of your books, including Running with Joy, A Leadership and a Life Lessons my doc, Bentley taught me. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit, and congratulations for surviving your going through successfully in your cancer treatment. When I read your book, I saw what you went through, and I was like, oh my God, we have to get you here to inspire people on the life lessons that you learned so far, and especially surviving cancer. Tell us a little bit, you've done music, you've done leadership, you've done team development, you've built companies, and you've been a very successful president of a company. Let's start with talent. How did you discover your talent?
Well, I years ago when I was growing up, and my dad, who was a businessman, would see what I ended up wanting to do, and I liked doing things in business even as a little kid. So I would go set up a lemonade stand on our golf course, and then I would put lemonade in cups, and people who were golfers would buy my lemonade because they were thirsty. It was during the summer. And one day I went and did that. And my dad came home that night and he saw that all the lemonade was gone out of the refrigerator. And he yelled over to my mom and says, "What happened?" And she says, "I don't know. I didn't do anything with it today." And what had happened is I took all of the lemonade out, made lemonade, put it on my cart, and took the cart over to the 7th hole golf course, and then had ice cubes and brought cups, paper cups, and I sold out within an hour. All my lemonade was gone. And I came back, and my dad finally said, "Robbie, did you take the lemonade out of the, today? Because we have no lemonade. And I love lemonade." And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "Well, what did you do with it?" And I said, "I went over to the golf course and sold cups of lemonade to people who were thirsty." And he said, "You did that all on your own?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, that is great. Congratulations." Then he said, "I do want to talk to you about one other thing. There's a thing called cost of goods sold. In other words, that lemonade costs something to make, and you need to learn that's where you have to pay for stuff to then go out and resell it." But he was very happy, actually. And that was typical of things that I would do when I was little and I was a young boy. And that kept going, that ability to want to help others, but also do things that were different. So my dad also, he had a movie theater, outdoor movie theater. And one day I told him, I said, "Dad, your concession stand where you sell pop and popcorn and hot dogs and all that," I said, "it's kind of ugly." And I said, "We should do something with that. And also, like the way you kind of have things displayed and that, I think we could do better." So I was now 14 years old. And my dad said, "Okay, you go to the library and learn what you think I should do." And so I went to the library, did all the research, and I came back with a plan. And then he looked at me, he says, "Sounds good. Yep, do this, this, and this, and I want you to do it." So I started. I redid my dad's outdoor theater concession stand and redid things, how they displayed things and what they would sell. And by the end of the year, we had I think like a 25% increase in sales.
Wow.
And that was kind of emblematic of what I did, because I was helping others. I gave them new products, and I also helped, my dad, because he did better. The people were happier. And so it was a win-win scenario. So those were some of the early signs that I needed to be in business, because I felt I could help more people that way.
I love that. That was great signs and symptoms that push you to the business where, bro, so powerful. And going through your book, Running with Joy, I was so inspired. And so looking at this book, what do you expect anybody who is going to read this book to grab from this book, please, even before we dive deeper into it?
Well, I think the first thing is, and we were talking about this, is people look at what you are naturally good at, that you don't have to think or work very hard at. It's just kind of comes natural to you. God gives all of us the right kind of gifts for each of us, and they're going to be different. Yours is going to be different than mine. So why not discover what they are and be very aware of it, and then do, and from the book, you get some help on that. And
Awesome.
that's one of the first principles. And the second principle is then once you do observe what those gifts are that you have, talents, I would call them,
Mm,
then do more of them and
mm,
be a natural. When you are a natural, you will be more successful. Trying to be something or do something that you're not very, like gifted at
mm.
is hard. you, it's you kind of go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so I think from this book, discovering your gifts and
Mhm.
then be learning to be more of a natural of those gifts.
Mm,
That second principle is like vital, vital, vital. And
mm.
it will, I think I shared with you briefly
Yeah.
the example of Bentley on the cover of if you can show them the Bentley on the book.
Mhm.
That is Bentley. It was our British Labrador. Well,
Awesome.
Bentley, one day when we were on the deck of a eating place,
Mhm.
he was there with us with another couple. We were outside, and this little boy walks over and gives Bentley a hug, and then his sister runs over and says, "Can I pet your dog?" And so Bentley just loved it. They loved Bentley. He was so kind, so gentle, so like not like, but just loving. He was being who he was.
Mm,
Bentley was a lover of people. So he did that all the time, and people responded so well. And then they said, "Can I run the dog around the deck?" And I said, "Sure." So they ran the dog all around the deck, hooping and hollering and having fun. And then came back, and their mom and dad said, "It's time for us to go." And so they went out
mm,
and left. And then the mom came back because, and she had tears in her eyes. She said,
mm,
I don't, I can just tell you that I've never seen our children so happy this week. Our children, we had a really hard week as a family.
mm.
This is the first time they've smiled in a week.
Wow.
And so, what your dog, Bentley, has done has made our day as a family and for them. And we want to thank you for that. And then she just left. And it just showed to me when we are using our God given gifts, great things can happen. And then
Mm,
you can bless others. So that was, part of when you discover your purpose in
mm.
life, your talents do have something to do with that
Yeah.
because usually they're tied together.
Mm,
Where your heart is and your talents usually lead you to do things that are purposeful and meaningful to you.
mm,
Yours may be different than mine,
mhm.
but and some of your listeners right now are, saying, "Well, yeah, that sounds good." And I
Mhm.
just say the book will help you with that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Helen. Right. So, uh, for those who are watching from different parts of the world, this podcast is listened and watched by people from Singapore, Germany, Africa, United States. So, let us know which part of the world you're watching us from, and drop what is your punchline. What is that thing that stood out for you already in the course of the conversation? And if you're watching on YouTube, do well to subscribe and let us know what is the punchline for you. Now, Rob, what advice can you give your 25 years old self on how to live a life of purpose?
Well, in the book Running with Joy, the fourth principle of the five are what is to learn to pick up your own poop. You
Mm,
know, we as humans have a tendency to blame others,
mm,
and it is kind of a natural thing, and because we don't want to, because we think if we give up or if we admit that we're wrong, that that's a weakness, and actually it's not. It's a
Mm,
strength. So what we need to do as people and as
mm,
leaders of a company
mm,
is keep short accounts. We can't harbor resentments. And if we do, we need to go ask for forgiveness if that's the case.
mm,
But we need to own or pick up the poop of things that we might have contributed to
mm,
something that went wrong. And sometimes it's very innocent, like, I didn't know I did that. I'm
mm,
sorry. Or I
yeah.
didn't do that on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sorry. It's that's and then when people do things to you, that's the ability to understand how important it is to forgive others.
Mm,
Because when we don't forgive, we hold on to
mm,
um, poison. It's
mm,
poison to our mind and it's poison to our body. So what we need to do is forgive
mm,
and not worry about whether they accept it or whatever, but we just need to forgive.
mm,
And when we forgive, we free up that poison, and that poison can't affect us anymore. And now we can be free to do and use our talents the way they are meant to be.
mm. I love that aspect of forgiveness and taking responsibility of our mistakes and acknowledging when we go wrong. That's so brilliant. And Rob, you are a cancer survivor, and I can imagine the process of going through, the chemotherapy, going to Mayo Clinic all the time, and all of that. So, what are the three lessons you learned through your process of recovering from cancer that you would love to share with our audience at the Global Speakers
Sure.
Advantage podcast, sir?
So it might be helpful if I put it in context. In 2017, in April of that year, I was doing exercises, and all of a sudden I felt these great pains in my stomach. So I went, and I knew it wasn't right. And so I went to the doctor, and they said, "You are," and they did the diagnostic tests, CAT scans, and that. They said, "We think you have cancer, but we think it's more than that. So
Hmm,
you should go to Mayo Clinic."
hmm,
And so we went to Mayo Clinic, and after a week of testing, they came back and sat down with my wife, Pam, and myself and said, "You have three deadly cancers.
hmm,
And you have leukemia,
hmm,
you have large B cell lymphoma,
hmm,
and you have follicular lymphoma. And we probably, the one that we think help because it's growing so fast is your large B cell lymphoma, and hopefully we can help some with the leukemia."
hmm,
So they put me on chemotherapy for 5 months, and it was awful. Just
yeah.
it was awful, awful, awful. And as I, look back on that time, I would go. I remember the first time I did a my chemotherapy. The
Hmm,
doctor said, "Be at our Mayo Clinic at Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and we're going to start you on chemo, and then we have a trial drug for you because we are doing a trial to help see if this helps." So I started, and they put the needle in and started the chemotherapy. And I thought that this would go like for an hour, hour and a half, maybe, and then I would be
hmm,
done and leave.
hmm,
I left that day at 5:15 in the afternoon, and I had chemotherapy put in me the entire day.
hmm,
Uh, that and so I was very, very sick. And they gave me this little pill in a cup. And they gave it to my wife Pam, and they said, "You have him take one of these a day for 5 days, and then eat some crackers ahead of time for your stomach, and then put a glass of water down, and we hope that will help. And if it falls on the floor, you need to get Clorox and wipe it up and don't ever touch it. And then if you do lose a pill or something happens, you have to call this number 24 hours a day and report that the pill is damaged, and never touch it, put it in a place, and they'll pick it up for you. That's how toxic the pill was. So that led me to kind of go back to the leadership principles of the book called The Power of Three.
Yeah.
And The Power of Three was written because a publisher heard about what happened to me and knew I was in business. And to make a long story short, of course, I'm alive today. I made it. But the incredible thing that happened was when I went for my last chemo, and then they do tests. They do a CAT scan, and they do a PET scan, and they do all these things to you, and do blood work. They came back, and Pam and I walked into the room and sat down. And so this is 5 months later. And basically, we were hearing the results of whether I was going to get to live or not. And so we got there, and we sat down, and the Dr. Preek, who is the oncologist, he skips in. He's happy. Oh my gosh, hi Rob, hi Pam, and he goes over, and I'm wondering, I've never seen this guy. They're so serious, these people, oncologists. So he flips on the screen and shows the picture of all the cancer in me that the previous tests show. Then he goes to the other screen right next to it, flips on that screen, and here on the screen it's all blue, which means there's no red. Red is cancer.
Oh.
And so Pam looked up at Dr. Preek, and I looked, and he said, and she says, well, there's no red. What does this mean? And he smiled, and he said, you are cancer free. And then he said, you are going to get to live.
Wow.
And I said, well, what about the leukemia? And he said, it's all gone. And then I said, well, what about the large B-cell lymphoma? He says, it's all gone. And what about the other? He says, unnoticeable. And then he looked at us and he said, you must know a God up there. And we because we're Christians, and we prayed for healing along with good medicine. And we rejoiced. We were just like, oh my gosh, I get to go to my son's wedding. I get to see him and with children. So it was a joyous, joyous day. And what I learned is this: don't ask why questions. Don't ask why. Because why did I get cancer? I don't know. Why did I get 3 cancers? I don't know. And the better question is to learn how to ask how and what and maybe where questions. So when we discovered that I had cancer, I said, I'm not going to ask why questions, but how, what can I do right now in this moment to move forward? How can I better prepare for all the cancer treatments that I'm going to have? Because nutrition is really important. And so that learning to activate questions was like key. It's just vital, vital, vital. And if you can do that and learn, not take why questions, because those are loser victim type questions. Like, why did you do that to me? What do you mean? The question to be asking is, what can I do to respond to whatever the problem is? How can I better learn from this? What specific things could I do to either change or sometimes not to say anything because it's not going to be helpful? So I think that was what I teach in leadership to all these people that I've done over the many 28 years. And I have done that. And it's been successful. In business, you should be asking how, what, and maybe where are we headed then? Asking those kind of questions, but not victim questions, because they are not helpful and they will destroy or hurt relationships.
What an amazing conversation here. Oh my God. So, moving forward, even as we conclude this first part of our conversation, Rob, going through your book, The Power of Three, what is that the lesson that you can highlight in the book, and what do I expect people to learn after reading the book?
Well, ask the right questions is number one.
Okay.
Which we just talked about. It's like, it's so vital, because if you ask other bad questions, you'll get bad answers, probably. And that sends your brain to send bad chemicals down, and they affect you physically. So that's kind of point number one, is ask the right questions. And then number two, which goes back to the Running with Joy book that Tyndale Publishing had me write, which is activate your God-given gifts. It's wonderful to be able to do more of the things that you're already good at, back to that same principle. And how did that play out really for me in cancer? I would sit home because I couldn't go outside very much. I couldn't touch grass. I couldn't touch dirt. I had to be so careful. I had to be around people that were only healthy because I had no immune system. And so I would sit home and I would get on the phone sometimes because I felt so crummy. And I would call up a friend and ask them how they were doing. What's going on with you? And finally they would say to me, Rob, I heard that you have cancer, and aren't you pretty sick? And I said, yeah, I really am. And then they stopped and they said, what are you asking me all these questions and calling me? I should be talking. I should be doing this to you. And this one person named Rolf, I had called. He says, Rob, where are you now? And I said, well, I'm home because I can't go out much because I don't have much of an immune system. And the doctors are afraid if I get anything, they won't be able to stop it. And he said, well, okay. He said, you're home now, right? Yep. I'll be over in about 15 minutes. And he hung up. And he had my address. He came over and spent an hour with me. And we just fellowshipped. But that all occurred because I activated my original gift, and he responded in kind, of being an encourager of people. I've always believed that.
Wow.
And he responded in the same way, but I didn't do it for that reason. But that was the blessing that came back.
Wow. This is so beautiful. Rob, I want to say thank you so much and congratulations for surviving Three
Yeah.
cancers. That's a miracle. I must acknowledge that's a big miracle from our Almighty God and Father.
Yes.
And there is a reason why He brought you back, and there's a reason why you're living. Your assignment is not finished, and probably this is part of your assignment, inspiring our audience with your story. And of course, we would love again to have you in our studio, not just virtually, but coming into the physical studio where we can actually sit together and have a deeper conversation about the journey and looking for a way forward. I want to thank you so much. So before we close the curtains of this first part of our podcast with you, what are your parting words to those who are watching right now and they are battling with cancer and life difficulties and life-threatening illnesses that are threatening to take away their lives and truncate their manifestation of talents and potential, sir?
Well, parting comments would be this, that man with great medicine is important. But who gave them the brains, to man, us, we people, who gave them that? God did. And so we don't have to not use medicine. Of course we should. And great medicine has helped millions of people. But in my part, I know by all the people praying for us and our pastors coming, that was equal to or more important than the medicine. So the two of them worked together to allow me to be totally healed and to continue living and doing what I do today. And so never forget, it's a combination of good medicine when you're sick, but also praying to the Lord Almighty who made you.
Hallelujah. So if somebody wants to reach out to you right now to speak, to train, to coach them, their businesses, or to buy copies of your book, how can somebody reach out to you as we talk, please?
Well, the books have my website on it, and I'd encourage them to read the book because that will really give them a sense of the power of three is one, and then running with joy. And my performance solutions mn.com is my website. So
Okay.
performance solutions mnmarynancy.com. And I'd be delighted to respond back to them and help in any way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming up this long and this far, Rob Pillar, and for responding to our invitations.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Right. So I just want to give a high shout to your wife, Pam, and extend our regards to her and thank her for the support she gave you during the challenging moments.
Amen. Amen to her.
Yeah. So we have some people from LinkedIn. Michelle Pedu from France and Spain. Thank you so much for reaching out. John Noel from Cameroon, Africa. Thank you so much. We appreciate. And if you're watching this even after, let us know which part of the world you're watching it from. On YouTube, if you're watching from YouTube, subscribe and let's stay connected. This is the Global Speakers Advantage podcast, and enjoy this beautiful advert even as we close the curtains of this conversation. You have lived through powerful moments. You have overcome and you have grown. Now it's time to tell your story and get booked for it. At Talks, we are launching a powerful platform called Tell Us Your Story. And it's a moment for you to shine. We will work with you one-on-one and coach you to be able to share your story with the world. And we will take your story, edit it, and release it in our platform, Talks. Let the world hear what you've been through and why it matters now more than ever. Spots are limited. If you're ready to turn your story into your stage, now is the time. So, my dear friend watching, that was the Global Speakers Advantage podcast, and We see you and we believe so much that your stage is never far away from you. You're just one step away from your stage. And if your story is real, then your stages will definitely come. We see you and we believe in you. And we're looking forward to see you in the next episode. And stay blessed and continue to change the world and make the world a better place. My name is Oliver Shom, and I was your host for today. Until we meet again, bye bye and take control.